and the president-elect, Bola Tinubu, and his political party, the All Progressives Congress, or APC, also promised to deliver, in the main, a better socio-economic Nigeria. But away from those campaign promises, what are the economic realities that the new administration of Bola Tinubu will have to deal with, effective June the 1st, 2023. My guest on this is a public policy analyst and a professor of economics at the Lagos Business School, Bongo. I want to welcome Professor Adi, and thanks for making the time tonight on the show. Let's get the ground running. What did you make of those political, let's step back a little bit to the political manifestos and the promises over the last couple of months while the campaigns lasted? What did you make of those promises as they were?
Well, thank you very much for having me this evening, Bosin. We've dwelt on the subject of manifestos for a while now. Yes, all the three major contestants were, gearing towards running a private sector-driven, market-led economy. Of course, once you mention the market, people tend to see it as a panacea for economic growth and turnaround, but it's not always the case. So it's one thing to just speak glibly of market-driven economies and liberal market policies, but it's a different ballgame altogether when it comes to the implementation. And then we need to also recognize the fact that the economic system, the economic mechanism, as we call it, does not run in isolation. It's not just a mechanical process that just runs once you have all the necessary parts in place. That is not the way the economy works. And the economy is an embedded system. It's embedded within the society. It's embedded within the politics. So most times it is the politics that determine the economy, and it's also the sentiment and the disposition of the people that determine whether economic policies work or not. Adam Smith is regarded as the father of modern economics. He wrote The Wealth of Nations, but at the same time, he's the one that wrote the theory of moral sentiments. So it's not possible to remove or isolate the economy from the politics of the day, from the society, from the way the people feel. And then on that premise, I think that in talking about the manifestos, they are just statements of ambition, something every contestant would like to do, and they were written just to satisfy the electorate at that point in time. But then now the tire has met the road, so it has to run.
Yes, that's right. At what point, Professor Adi, at what point does campaign promises end and the realities of being a president-elect or being a president begins for Senator Bola Tinubu in this present situation as a president-elect?
Well, for the president-elect, I think it has started right now. And then, again, the challenges will be confronting him. Not least will be the credibility of the election, that brought him into power. The commentator earlier referred to the views of observers, both local and international, regarding the way the election went. All of us were here, and the aftermath of that, I don't know how to describe it, that happened on Saturday. Is still reeling all over the Federation. People are still smarting from that because nobody saw that coming. We had expected, we had high hopes for this election. But as Financial Times of London described the election, it fell very low, very, very well below our expectations. Promises were broken. And I think, so that defines the sentiment of the people at this point in time. So when you talk about economics, policies, or when does the reality, begin to dawn on the new president, I think it is quite now. I've lost the light, but I don't know if you can still hear me.
Yes, so I can hear you very clearly, Professor Adi. Again, we were dealing with some of the current economic realities of Nigeria right now. vis-a-vis those mouth-watering on campaign trail promises. You're looking at a number of issues right now, Nigel's debt, the issue with electricity, and you just had a power outage there just in the middle of this live interview globally being watched. You're talking about budget deficit. You're looking at the exchange rate. We're looking at unemployment of about above 30% as the last data from the Statistics Office. GDP growth that was, well, just around the country's population growth of about 3%. Inflation, FX reserves below 40 billion US dollars and all that. So, and of course, the foreign direct investment just at the bottom of the barrel in the manner of speaking. So, right now that we have a whole lot to deal with on our hands. So, in terms of what you expect right now from hitting the ground running for the president-elect, despite the victory and whatever anyone else opposition will go to court, but we got to move on, and the country will have to have a president moving forward. Now, how does all of this come together as far as the reality is concerned? Not just the victory that will be served by the APC and President-elect Bola Tinubu and his team.
Well, you know that the intention, the ambition of every politician is to deliver good governance. And by the way, Bola Tinubu, the Asiwaju, is someone that we have in very high regards. Personally, I have written 2 cases on his transformation of Lagos, one on the fiscal dimension, the other one on transportation. These are cases that I've used to teach economic development strategy at the Lagos Business School. Now, he's known for turning around, the decrepit systems into very, thriving ones. So we expect that he will actually hit the ground running. So based on what we know about him, regardless of the election that threw him up, that's not the issue for now. So I would expect him to actually approach governance from the way he also approached the governance of Lagos. Regardless of what critics may say, this is a man who met Lagos at a very low fiscal situation and was able to turn it around. And then one thing that has also worked for him over the years is his ability to actually, constitute the right cabinet. He has this knack for identifying talents. I give it to him without, mixing words. He's someone everybody knows that he's also very detribalized because, you will see people from other parts of Nigeria serving in his government. That happened when he was the governor. So, yes, when it comes to, he's also a man who goes after talents and people of intelligence. So I will expect him to compose the right team, because that is what the country needs at this point in time. I've always argued that no matter who wins the presidency of this country at this crucial juncture, it's not going to be an easy ride, not at all. You've read out all the challenges the country is facing at this point in time, but you didn't even bring in that of insecurity. You didn't also bring in the issue of this, the election that everybody, it decries and has caused so much disaffection, especially among the youth. We already have so many youths leaving the country in their droves. Many, have also stated that, they do not have any hopes for Nigeria, and therefore they will, take the easy way out of the country as soon as the opportunity presents itself. So I think the first thing to do is to, give these people confidence. So he needs to reestablish confidence in the system. I don't know how that is going to happen. So he has a very big work cut out for him. At the international scene as well, the position of Nigeria now as a highly indebted poor country, where our exchange rate is actually being battered left, right, and center, means that we will depend on the goodwill, the international goodwill, in terms of foreign investment and in terms of foreign acceptability to really survive. Now, I don't know how he's going to do that, because if you read what the Financial Times wrote, and as well as some other media in Australia and some other places, You know that he will just, I don't know, he needs to burnish the image of Nigeria. So his foreign affairs team must be, top notch. Otherwise, it is not, I don't see how that is going to happen anytime soon. So it's actually going to task his creativity. But I think he has managed Lagos in the past. So we trust that he will do well as well.
Well, you will spend some time, you just talk about a whole lot of macroeconomics. From a socio-economic and human development standpoint, what do you think Nigerians really want from a new president effective June the 1st? What would they really want to see from President-elect Bola Tinubu as soon as he's sworn in as the new president, from the man on the street point of view?
Well, the first thing today is that there is a large, this large swirl of despair, in the system. People have lost hope. Okay, the economy has taken a turn for the worse in the past 8 years. So people really are challenged on many fronts. So Nigerians, the man on the streets, expect that the president can at least give them hope. And what does that mean? It means that the Nigerian, a typical Nigerian looks forward to a better tomorrow. Okay, so we need that, confidence. We need that trust in the system. But again, this is the election is one that has actually depleted whatever stock of trust on faith that people have in the system. So the first thing that needs to happen is how to rebuild the trust and the confidence that the people have on the government of the day, on the leadership of the country. Because as it is right now, most Nigerians feel that they do not matter, their votes do not count, that the government doesn't even see them. So they are using them as a tool. So this is the instrumentalization of the people for the achievement of the ambitions of the elite and the super rich. So that is the typical feeling of the man on the street. So how do we change this? So that is what the president-elect needs to address sooner than later. Otherwise, I think the problem will keep compounding, not only with the best Nigerians believe in, we'll also be having a lot of disgruntled people in the system. And that is part of the thing that the outgoing administration has failed to manage. So when you have this compounding problem, that will create, more than a mouthful for anybody to chew.
So Professor Adi, how should President-elect Bola Tinubu proceed? You talk in terms of who makes us his team, and you talk about his cabinet. President Buhari spent 6 months before he put together a cabinet back in 2015. But he's also inheriting the policies and actions of this administration. So he's an APC for another APC's administration, at least in the first 4 years, in the manner of speaking. So from where we are today. But the point is this. Mr. President was saying today that President-elect Senator Bola Tinubu got the victory at the polls last Saturday because of the good things that his administration has done. So how much of Buharinomics do you expect to see moving forward? And would you see Tinubunomics being different, strikingly different from Buharinomics?
Well, at the beginning of 2019, when President Buhari won his second tenure, I wrote an article which is, uninstalling Buharinomics 1.0 and installing Buharinomics 2.0. But Buharinomics 2.0 actually didn't augur well for anybody in this country today. Of course, this narrative could have changed if the president had delivered on his promise of a fair and credible election. Except you're not a Nigerian, every Nigerian knows that the election that produced the president-elect was far from credible, was far from fair. So on that count, that is the only thing I believed that Buhari would leave as a legacy. But lo and behold, it didn't happen. So there is no legacy that I could look back to and say that, okay, this is something that I will have to, thank the president for. He promised to fight corruption, but today we see that corruption has eaten Nigeria for lunch. He also promised to, invest massively in infrastructure. Of course, he did some bit of that when it comes to rails, the railways, when it comes to roads, a few of them, and then of course the second Niger bridge. He achieved something there. But again, if you look at infrastructure is something, especially physical infrastructure, when it comes in the order of ranking or priority, you need to build a human element, the human infrastructure or human capital before you build a physical infrastructure. Otherwise, the people will always tend to reduce the physical infrastructure to their level. And that's exactly what has happened, even where you have the rail tracks. Out of poverty and criminality, people have gone to remove those rail tracks, meaning that we reverted to the status quo ante. So that is the kind of system, the legacy that Buhari is leaving us with. So I don't see anything that anybody can look up to and say. And then if it's come to monetary policy, then we were talking about 77 trillion naira debts that is going to land on the head of the president-elect. So those are not anything that anybody will want to inherit. So I don't envy the president-elect, given the situation Nigeria is at moment. So it's going to tax him a lot. Then how is he going to begin to deal with this? The first one, because that's where our salvation will come from first, is the international community. And then, of course, before you start to rebuild the economy, you will need the revenues, right? And then we have the low-hanging fruit that we still have is oil, right? So we need to stabilize oil production. The volumes have to be there. And then we also have to win investor confidence. So that is a big challenge. And unfortunately, I have no ideas on how that could be done.
Well, Professor Adi, still early days in the manner of speaking. If you agree with me, the transition is just the elections is just still hot on the plates, as it were. So we have days, weeks, and months down the rest of the year to see how these things will progress. Great insights and perspectives on Nigeria's political economy horizon. Professor Bongo Adi of the Lagos Business School, thank you so much.